So I got a bit of a confession to make, alright? The last draft I shared on this channel wasn't actually my final team, but I think I'm there now. Here is my final draft in Euro 2024 fantasy football. Okay, then before we get into the team itself, like I've done with most of the draft videos I've made, I just wanted to draw attention to the Elevenify clean sheet odds. So a prediction basically of the likelihood of each team in each match week to keep a clean sheet. I think there are 4 teams that look pretty safe to get a clean sheet almost every week. I'd suggest that, looking to pick defenders from these teams is a good idea. England, Germany, Portugal and Belgium, they've all got decent groups and in each game have really good odds to keep a clean sheet. I've also noticed, particularly when teams in the group of death, so-called group of death, play Albania, they all have really strong clean sheet odds, so potentially rotating defenders between those teams and targeting Albania, for example, as a fixture, looking at Italy to Croatia to Spain, for example, could be a good way to do it. You can see the rest of the odds there, so I won't leave it on screen any longer. Okay then, my defence is looking like this. I've gone for De Kuiper of Belgium, likely to be the starting left-back for the first couple of match days due to injury to the first choice, so I think he's a good option. 0.5 million cheaper than Castagna, who was in my team previously. I think why not just save the 0.5 right and go for De Kuiper if he's going to play the first 2 games. Woutvass in there at 4 million. I think alongside Mittelstadt, he's probably the second best 4 million defender. I think he offers a little bit of goal threat from set pieces, and we saw, the strong clean sheet odds that Belgium have throughout the group stages, so I think he's a nice option. Might as well go for him at 4 million. Mittelstadt, the outstanding German defender in my opinion, probably the most attacking of all the defenders that are going to play, to be honest. He's got decent attacking stats for his club and for Germany playing internationally. I mean, the minimum price for a defender starting for the home nation in the tournament with really strong clean sheet odds. I like it. DiMarco, targeting, like I said, that Albania fixture. He's going to be attacking whether he plays at left back or left wing back. There's a bit of a question as to the formation that Italy line up in. I think he's going to be a good option, particularly with matchday 1 in mind. I think with him, I'm literally already booking in a transfer to a Croatian defender for matchday 2. And then Cancelo, there is a little bit of doubt around his minutes, but I think with the amount of defenders, other good defenders I've got in this team, I'm kind of willing to take the risk with his attacking upside. Portugal expected to score one of the most goals of all the teams in the tournament, and they got really strong clean sheet odds in the group stages, so I think he's a really nice option. I've gone for Verbruggen in goal of the Netherlands. They've got Poland in match day, well, the first match day. Without Lewandowski, without Milik, I don't think Poland are going to be offering very much going forward, so I think there's a likely clean sheet for him there. But match day 2, they've got France, and I think Livakovic, the Croatian keeper, is a good option to have to rotate with Verbruggen. Livakovic has got Albania in match day 2, and Croatia are notoriously pretty good defensively. So I think a Croatian defender and Livakovic in my team for match day 2 could play into my hands quite nicely. Yeah, that's my defence. So those are the defenders that I've locked in, but I would be lying if I said there weren't some other players that I was also considering that I think are really good picks. I've got 3 here that I think would do you quite nicely, but I just have a few doubts about them. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, is great value at 5.5 million. He's probably going to be playing in the midfield for England, pinging long passes left, right and centre, and will probably take a fair few free kicks as well. He's likely to be starting in matchday 1. The English press have kind of leaked the expected starting 11 versus Serbia, and Trent is in it. So, all of those things together, you think he's a pretty good option. But for me, with the chip strategy that I'm using, I'm not sure he's going to play in matchday 2. I just don't know if that team that plays Serbia is going to be the same team that plays Denmark in matchday 2. And also, just in general, I've got a bit of a doubt about the English defence. They're heavily backed to keep clean sheets, but I'm just not sure I personally believe that. Jonathan Tah of Germany, I think is great value at 4.5 million as well. He's got a good group, good clean sheet odds in all of his fixtures. He just doesn't really have any attacking upside, whereas I think the likes of De Kuiper, similar sort of clean sheet odds, better attacking upside. Mark Gahey, great value again at 4.5 million. Same sort of things I mentioned about Tah. Just don't know if he's got any real attacking upside and have a doubt just in general about the English defence. Okay, I'll just quickly run through predicted goals for both players and teams in the group stages. So here are the top players for predicted goals during the group stages. It's most of the big names, right? You can write off Lewandowski because he's injured. Probably not going to play at all this tournament, in my opinion. Got Mbappe, Kane, Ronaldo, Lukaku, The big four strikers in the game, they're all expected to score the most goals during the group stages. Top midfielder being Bruno Fernandes, Jude Bellingham, the second place midfielder. Then you've got Gundogan there as well, followed by Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, you can see the rest of the players there. And then just in terms of teams as well, important to know like the individual players that are likely to score the most goals, but also the teams that are predicted to score the most. So we've got Portugal, England, Germany, France and Belgium as your top 5. They're expected to basically score the most goals during the group stages. And you can see there's a view fixture on fixture here according to Elevenify. Pause the video if you like to see it in more detail. Right then, onto the midfield. I've got Wirtz, Gundogan, Szoboszlai, Rodri and Bruno Fernandes. The one position I think is up for grabs, and I'll talk about some potential alternatives, is the one I've got Wirtz in. Although I just think with Germany being the home nation, heavily backed to score a fair few goals, not necessarily on set pieces, not necessarily a 90-minute man, for example, things that I like in fantasy football picks. I just think he's got a nice group. He's off the back of a really good season, and playing in that front line for Germany, I just think 7.5 million is a good price. And I also just have a feeling the goals across that Germany team will be spread quite evenly. Whereas you think, you know, the big strikers, Mbappe, Kane, Lukaku, will probably score a majority of their team's goals. Whereas Havertz, not necessarily being an out-and-out number 9, for example, just makes me think the goals are going to be spread a bit more evenly across the German team. So for that reason, I went for Wirtz. Gundogan, I went through the goal scoring entourage. He's one of the top expected goal scoring midfielders. That's probably the right way to put it. He's the penalty taker for Germany, which I really like. So he's going to be my captain for that first match day, hoping he can net a penalty or something. Szoboszlai, just an absolute talisman for Hungary. Going to play 90 minutes every game on penalties, corners and free kicks. Country captain, going to be on the pitch for 90 minutes. I just don't think there's any more you can want in a fantasy asset, to be honest. Rodri, penalty taker for Spain. We all saw his attacking upside he brought for Man City this season. I expect him to play a slightly more defensive role for Spain, but you know, with his talents, he's surely going to get forward a little bit. And his ball recoveries are really good across qualifying. You get a point per, I think it's 3 ball recoveries, when he made on average 7.5 ball recoveries per game in qualifying. So that's a couple of points per game in this, which I think could be worth something. So yeah, I really like Rodri. And then Bruno Fernandes, I think he's the best midfielder in the game, to be honest. You know, fantastic record for Portugal, over 30 attacking returns in 30 recent games for Portugal. So his stats are crazy. He's a great option. Right, some other midfielders then that I'm considering. Obviously, I don't have an England player in any of this team so far, and I can't not say that the England midfielders are options, right? Bellingham, Foden and Saka, I think, are probably the picks. The bookies' odds seems to favour them for scoring goals. I just think they're quite expensive. I'm not entirely sure how England line up, and I don't really back Phil Foden for England. He's not really got a great record for them. Jude Bellingham, I think, will do you quite nicely, but he's really expensive in this game, and I think you can do better for cheaper, or save the money and upgrade elsewhere. So I think they're good options. I just can't quite justify picking them. Shaqiri, I really like. He's on penalties and free kicks. He's been very good in past tournaments for Switzerland, particularly in fantasy football. At 6.5 million, I think he's really, really good value. There is just a doubt about his minutes due to his age, and for that reason, I've not gone for him. And likewise, Christian Eriksen, I think similar sort of upside to Shaqiri on pens and free kicks. He's looked really good in warm-up games, scored a cracking goal against Sweden. But the England fixture in match day 2, yes, I've said I'm not entirely sure about the England defence, but picking a player that faces England just kind of puts me off a little bit, whereas I think you can go for someone like Wirtz, well, my team, for example, who's got 3 really good fixtures, and you just don't have to worry about taking them out. Forward line then, I've gone for Lukaku, Mbappe and Ronaldo, and that obviously means there's one obvious omission from my team, and that's Harry Kane. I genuinely think he's the best striker in world football, right? And England, of course, have good odds for scoring lots of goals in this tournament. But for me, he comes in 1 million more than Ronaldo, and he seems to just drop deep in a lot of the England international games, which means I just think chances will fall to other players in that England team, likely created by Harry Kane, and he doesn't take free kicks. With all that in mind, I just feel for 1 million less, Ronaldo could well score more goals during the group stages, and remembering I only need him for the first 2 fixtures. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go for Ronaldo. Just before we close out the video, mention my chip strategy. It's the same as the one I had last time. I'm going to play my Limitless in match day 3. I think it makes sense to play it then. Teams that have progressed will likely rotate. I just like the thought of using the limitless there to target teams that still have something to play for, that will have good assets. I think that's a nice time to play it, basically. And then I'm going to use the wild card at some point during the knockout stages. I imagine there will be some upsets. I'll pick a lot of players from specific teams that will likely get knocked out, I think. And it'd be nice to have the wild card to deal with that rather than using any free transfers. And I think my team at the moment looks really strong for both match day 1 and 2. So I just don't feel like I need to use a chip in that sort of time frame. Okay, now that is the end of the video, and that is my final draft. I've slept on it. I slept on it Thursday night. It's Friday morning when I'm recording this, and I haven't changed it. So I think that suggests pretty much locked in now. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. You can subscribe to the Goal to Goal channel, which should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching. Happy Euros Day, and I'll catch you in my next video.